Tonight, a Fox 31 Denver news special on an important subject that has been top of mind this entire holiday weekend: food. On this 4th of July, we hold these truths to be self-evident. America loves its patriotism with a side of potato salad. And nothing screams USA like stuffing hot dogs in your face. But we here in Colorado, we've declared our independence from traditional dining. Turns out a new trend in the restaurant industry has been born right here.
It's a high-energy state. It's an active state.
It's Americana at its finest.
And it's shaping the way the rest of the world eats.
The general consumer has become much more educated on what quality food is.
So before you sleep off that 4th of July food coma, sit back, grab some more chips, and join us for Colorado Eats, the new fast food revolution. Here is Fox 31 Denver anchor Jeremy Hubbard.
Good evening and happy 4th of July to you. This holiday certainly got us thinking about food. There's something about food and the 4th that just go hand in hand. In fact, did you know this weekend Americans will consume 150 million hot dogs? That's so many that if you laid them end to end, they'd stretch all the way from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C. A lot of dogs. But here in Denver, our love of food runs much deeper than the typical holiday barbecue fare. We like our food healthy and fast, and when someone else makes it for us. Maybe that's why Denver's become the hub of the fastest growing segment in the restaurant industry, fast casual. Chipotle, Noodles & Company. Did you know some of the biggest names in the restaurant business were started right here in Denver? Tonight we're going behind the scenes, meeting the people who started this new restaurant revolution. How did these eateries get so big so fast? And what are the next Denver-based restaurants that are about to go global? We start with a history lesson. Before we checked out the menus at some of Denver's newest restaurants, we decided to hunt down the menus at some of our city's oldest. From a time when breakfast could cost you $0.25 and a sophisticated steak could be yours for a little less than $5.
Right now we're in one of our storage rooms.
Here at the History Colorado Center,
Here we have a Colorado State Business Directory for 1875.
historians and curators unearthed for us a treasure trove of Denver's dining past.
There's a separate category for restaurants. There are 12 of them listed, and then there are 50 saloons listed.
They have a vast collection of artifacts from our first farmers markets
In the late 1800s, the city market starts, and that was one of the biggest open-air markets in Denver.
to our first food suppliers like Maury Mercantile.
It started in 1884 and it was started by Chester S. Maury.
He even had his own brand of food called Solitaire, used in restaurants all over town.
His company supplied coffee and jams and jellies.
The museum's time capsule of food dating back more than 150 years. Your parents or grandparents might remember the iconic Manhattan.
I know that people like Molly Brown dined there. It was a sort of a place to be seen.
But it was a strange little beer keg-shaped restaurant in North Denver in the early 1900s that changed everything.
The Humpty Dumpty is significant in Colorado for people that don't know. It's the first fast food drive-in that opens in the 20s.
The Humpty Dumpty was a famous drive-in with these waitresses in white starch dresses, quite an operation. One of the, probably the popular place to go, particularly for teenagers.
Legend has it, back in the 1930s, the owner, Louis Ballast, was experimenting with toppings for hamburgers when he had an epiphany.
Some people said he tried different things, chocolate on top of a hamburger, marshmallows, but then one day he was cooking his burgers and a slice of cheese fell on it accidentally. He said, aha.
Of course, that is just legend, and odds are he's not the first person to put cheese on a burger, but he was the first to make it official. On January 1st, 1932, Louis Ballast and the Humpty Dumpty Drive-In filed papers with the Colorado Secretary of State to trademark the cheeseburger.
And not so much the making of the cheeseburger, but the name of the cheeseburger.
That strange-shaped restaurant is now long gone, but to this very day, if you drive up Spear Boulevard just west of downtown near North High School and look closely, you'll see this little stone marker on the very spot where the Humpty Dumpty once stood, the very spot where Louis Ballast made food history and helped change the way the nation eats.
Colorado is famous for fast food, and it really starts with a cheeseburger.
You know, it's Americana at its finest.
So maybe it's appropriate that one of the fastest growing restaurant chains in America got big here in Denver by selling, you guessed it, the cheeseburger, though they call it something else.
This is our classic smash burger. It's about a quarter of all burgers sold. Most popular burger.
Smashburger first opened its doors in Denver 8 years ago. It's since grown to 325 restaurants in 32 different states. And now they're worldwide, too.
We've been to Saudi Arabia, some of our best stores, Kuwait, Costa Rica, El Salvador.
This burger joint is a shining star in a rapidly growing niche in the restaurant business that in many ways began right here in our backyard. They're called fast casual restaurants.
Fast casual is kind of in between quick service restaurants and casual dining. So in fast casual restaurants, what tends to happen is you go up and order at the counter and then you sit down and are waiting to be served, so you don't need as many people.
It is a concept that costs less to operate than traditional sit-down restaurants and tends to offer more fresh, made-to-order, high-quality food than fast food restaurants. And it's a huge hit.
Not only is fast casual the fastest growing segment in the restaurant industry, but Colorado actually has about double the number of restaurants per capita than any other state in the country or in the national average.
That's why you're starting to see a Chipotle or Noodles & Company or Mod Market on every street corner and strip mall in our state, and now across the country, too.
Such a broad demographic here that you feel like you could make it work in Denver, it works in Denver, it can go elsewhere.
Fast casual has now grown into a $38 billion a year industry. That's on top of the $100 billion spent every year on hamburgers. Americans love burgers.
I eat a lot of salads. I love to eat salad, but I have yet to sit down to a salad and go and rub my hands together like, oh yeah, I'm in. And a hamburger does that. I watch it happen, and that's an awesome place in the business to be where people get really excited about what they're going to eat.
So it's no surprise another hamburger chain started right here in Colorado is working to become the next big thing.
Why did we think we'd be successful? One thing we knew was the hamburger is yet to go out of style.
Adam Baker and his business partner started Lark Burger in the Vail Valley 9 years ago with a simple idea. Take the popular burger they were serving in their high-end restaurant and serve it to the masses.
We want to add restaurants as fast as we can and still execute.
They now have 13 restaurants and they want to get even bigger. They're certain Lark Burger will one day be a national brand. Another Colorado entrant in the fast casual restaurant race.
It's a big country and there's a lot to go around.
Food served fast in places that don't look or feel like a fast food restaurant. It's a revolutionary restaurant concept that got its origin just a few miles away from another Colorado restaurant that 80 years ago changed the way America eats.
Indulgent eating is great, and people do it, and we'll always do it, and we should do it.
Put anything between two slices of bread and we Denverites will eat it, which brings us to a little bit of Denver food trivia. Did you know that Elvis's favorite sandwich was invented right here in our part of Colorado? Nick Anderlakis runs Nick's Cafe in Golden, and legend has it Elvis had eaten Nick's famous Fool's Gold sandwich, made up of an entire loaf of French white bread, a pound of bacon, butter, peanut butter, and grape jelly. And the king loved it so much that on the night of February 1st, 1976, he flew his private jet, the Lisa Marie, from Memphis back to Denver and picked up 22 of the high-calorie concoctions. He and his entourage ate them in an airport hangar and then flew back to Graceland. You can still get that famous sandwich at Nick's Cafe in Golden. We'll be right back.
Less conversation, a little more action.
Welcome back tonight as we celebrate July 4th by looking at a holiday staple, food. Denver has become an incubator for one of the fastest growing segments of the restaurant industry, fast casual. But the truth is, Colorado has long been home to some famous restaurants. Did you know that Noodles & Company, Garbanzo, Tokyo Joe's, Quiznos, Qdoba, and Mad Greens were all started here in Denver? And Boston Market, Einstein Brothers, Red Robin, and Lamar's Donuts are now headquartered in the Denver area. And then, of course, there's Chipotle, a restaurant Goliath that started in a tiny old ice cream shop near the University of Denver. A pilgrimage for a burrito. Hundreds have made that very journey here. Walk down the hidden stairs to the storage room under the very first Chipotle, and you'll find a guest book. Food fans from all over the world marking in ink their sojourn in restaurant history.
We probably get 3 to 4 customers a day who come in here just to say that they've made the pilgrimage to Evans.
You'll also find a time capsule. There's Steve Ells, the founder, who signed the ceiling 22 years ago as the first Chipotle opened. And his friend Gretchen Selvidge signed here too. She started with the company at restaurant number 2.
I said it wrong for the first year and nobody corrected me.
Even though she couldn't pronounce the name.
People tend to switch the L around, and so they call it Chipotle. I've heard of Chipone. There've been all kinds of different ways of pronouncing it, but it's Chipotle.
No matter what you call it, you have to call this place a phenomenon. What they started in this old Dolly Madison ice cream shop in Denver has sprouted into a Goliath. 1,800 restaurants worldwide and revenue of more than $4 billion last year.
I think the generation, especially like millennials right now, care much more about where their food comes from, and they've become a little bit of food snobs. And so, you know, in the day when we were all growing up, we went to fast food. They won't eat at fast food now.
It is impossible to exaggerate how Chipotle has changed the entire restaurant industry, though at first it didn't seem like it was going to happen.
A lot of people really didn't understand the concept. And in fact, when we first opened this restaurant, we didn't have a menu board. We didn't have a menu. We only served burritos and tacos. We didn't even have utensils. Because Steve, when I came to work for him, I'm like, why don't you have utensils? He's like, because it's burritos and tacos. Eat it with your hands, you know?
A positive review in a Denver magazine changed everything.
We started just growing like crazy.
And over the past 2 decades, there has been remarkably little change in how they do what they do.
The food's gotten better. Where we source our food has gotten better.
But the one thing that has changed is the astronomical amount of competition.
Colorado environment is really kind of open to trying new things.
In many ways, Chipotle is responsible for that competition, with others flocking to our state hoping to replicate this success.
It probably doesn't hurt that you have a company that's successful like Chipotle that started here. You know, if you're going to start a brand new concept, why not go into a market that's proven to be successful in that category?
And some have taken the knowledge they gained working here and turned it into big success elsewhere, like the guy who's now in charge here. If it seems like the people at Noodles & Company know what they're doing, maybe it's because the guy who runs this place has been serving food since he was a teen.
I've been in the restaurant space since I was 15. I started working for McDonald's when I was 15, actually for the franchisee and family that created the Big Mac in Pittsburgh.
Food soon became Kevin Reddy's life.
There's so much life that happens in restaurants. It's just fun, and I ended up just staying there.
He went on to work as an executive at McDonald's as an adult and then worked at Chipotle when McDonald's invested heavily in that company a few years back. All of it helping him gain the knowledge it takes to now run one of the biggest contenders in the fight for your fast casual food dollars.
McDonald's, I learned great systems and attention to detail and infrastructure, and you know, at Chipotle, I learned a lot about food and ingredients and also this real intense desire and focus on the guest needs and how do you blend what's important to them.
Looks like Kevin's company has found that recipe. Some 20 years after they opened their first restaurant in Denver's Cherry Creek North neighborhood, Noodles now serves 60 million people a year. They have 470 restaurants, and they're now opening an average of 1 per week. He says Colorado deserves a lot of credit for pioneering restaurant concepts like this one.
Because everyone thinks about New York and San Francisco and the culinary innovation that comes out of there or out of Europe. But I think the entrepreneurship in Colorado has figured out how do you take those flavors and trends and do something wonderful for the masses.
As for why Colorado is the hub for fast casual food, it's anyone's guess. But Reddy knows our state attracts the kind of people who want to eat like this.
Well-educated state, it's a high-energy state, it's an active state. I don't know anyone that doesn't love the mountains.
Noodles & Company and so many other restaurants like it have benefited from a new trend among families. We're eating out way more than we used to. In fact, this year, for the first time ever, sales at restaurants and bars surpassed spending at grocery stores, according to the Commerce Department. That bodes well for the future, and for the guy who's been doing this since he was just 15 years old.
In 5 years, at the rate we're building restaurants, we could be serving over 100 million. But you don't get there if you take your eye off the ball about serving the individuals that you have today.
A restaurant empire that started with noodles and has now expanded, as you saw, to things like salads and sweets, too. And speaking of sweets, did you know the root beer float was invented right here in Colorado back in the 1890s? Legend has it Frank Wisner, who owned the Cripple Creek Cow Mountain Gold Mining Company, was staring out a window and thought the snow atop a nearby mountain looked like ice cream floating atop a dark drink. So he tried the real thing the next day with root beer and started an immediate sensation. We'll be right back. welcome back. Healthy fast food is probably the last thing you're thinking about on a holiday weekend that's become synonymous with things like hot dogs. But Denver has given birth to some of the most famous healthy fast food restaurants in the entire country. Restaurants that are now popping up on street corners and in strip malls all over the nation. What do you do when you're young and a health nut and can't find a place to have dinner?
Mid-20s, hard-working guys, and we ate out all the time. And there wasn't a place where you could go out to eat and feel like you were making a good choice.
So Anthony Piliacampo and his business partner decided to start their own restaurant, Mod Market. You get your food fast here, but this certainly doesn't look like fast food.
We just kept talking about it and complaining basically about what was out there, and finally looked around and said, why don't we make something where we would eat every day? And we think there's a lot of other people like us that want simple, healthy, made-from-scratch food that's fairly affordable. And if we put that in a nice restaurant environment, we'd eat there every day, and thought other people would too.
Turns out they were onto something. Young people just are not eating the way they used to. Get this, from 2003 to 2013, consumption of fresh food, fruits and vegetables, meat, poultry, fish and eggs went up by 20% in the U.S. That's healthy eating, and that's money in the bank for fast casual restaurants like this. And it's forcing a change in the entire restaurant industry.
All natural ingredients, right? No preservatives, nothing like that. You're starting to see Taco Bell adopt that, Subway saying we're removing all artificial ingredients, and these QSR concepts are forced to take steps to make their quality higher. And that's a great thing. You know, we want to see the industry move in that positive direction.
Mod Market's co-founder says there are a couple of other reasons people are eating like this. One big game changer has been television.
I think that the general consumer has become much more educated on what quality food is. And, you know, with the Food Network being one of the most widely watched networks on TV.
Big flavors, big pieces.
People are seeing Chopped, and they're seeing what beautifully plated food looks like. So when they come into Mod Market and see something that looks similar, it's like, oh yeah, I'll gladly pay a little bit more to get food like that.
And believe it or not, social media like Instagram may also be fueling an interest in food that looks like this.
You know, everybody taking pictures of what they eat. I mean, when I was in college, I never knew what other people I knew what their plates of food looked like, whereas now I know what my neighbor's eating. You know, I could go look on his Instagram feed right now. Beautiful food is great food. And, you know, fast casual, I think, for the most part, delivers that next cut in terms of quality, and it shows well, and people recognize that.
Whatever the reason for their success, Mod Market just hopes it keeps going. So far, so good. Since opening in Boulder in 2009, they've expanded to 12 restaurants in Colorado and Texas, and another half dozen are coming soon, as they grow their effort to change the way Colorado and the rest of the country eats, with a new kind of fast food, where they put much less emphasis on the fast part.
The more we slow down our eating and the higher the quality is, that's going to solve a lot of the food-related health issues that exist in the country.
Mod Market already has several restaurants here in Colorado and in Texas, and they plan to expand throughout the American West sometime soon. When we come back, what is the next Denver-based restaurant that's about to hit the national stage? What's the next big thing in fast casual? We'll take a look. But first, some more Colorado food trivia for you. Did you know the man who invented one of your favorite breakfast cereals was a Denverite? Henry Perky invented shredded wheat. In 1892, he had an idea to make a dry cereal. He and a friend created a machine to make biscuits out of shredded wheat. He sold them in Denver out of a horse-drawn wagon, in essence, giving birth to the mass-produced breakfast cereal industry. We'll be right back. Welcome back as we talk about a favorite holiday subject, food. We told you how Chipotle and Noodles & Company were started here in Denver and then went national. So what's the next restaurant chain about to do the same thing? It could be a restaurant with a famous chef that just opened in Denver's Lowry neighborhood. Ramen is not that stuff you warm up in a styrofoam cup anymore. Certainly not this ramen, being prepared by one of Denver's most well-known chefs, Troy Guard.
I think it's an easy, inexpensive, flavorful dish, and it fills you up.
And it fills a void in the fast-growing, fast-casual restaurant industry. Guard's Tag Restaurant Group has now opened its second Boo Boo Fresh Revolution restaurant here in Denver, a place where so many other fast-casual restaurants have worked. And while the chef's focused on the Boo Boos that are currently open, he certainly does see the big picture.
I think it would be kind of cool. I mean, who wouldn't, you know, if you had a restaurant in Hawaii or New York or Chicago, I think that would be totally cool. But I want to make sure that I can do it well here so they understand it and enjoy it over there.
Boo Boo could be the next big thing in a business that is changing by the minute and seeing fierce new competition. For instance, Chipotle has started to roll out a new pizza concept, Pizzeria Locale. And the parent company of Smashburger has a pizza restaurant chain of its own, Live Basil. It's clear you'll be seeing a lot more restaurants like these. In 2007, there were just over 11,000 fast casual restaurants in the U.S. Now there are more than 16,000, and the number's growing daily as the places where we eat here in Colorado vie to become the next Chipotle, or the next Noodles & Company, or Smashburger. One pizza or salad or bowl of ramen at a time.
Like for you to be interviewing me in 5 years with our 50th restaurant or something, that'd be pretty cool.
Fubu, another contender in the food fight for the more than $38 billion we spend every year on fast casual dining, an industry born in many ways right here in Denver. So the next time you go to one of these restaurants, have some local pride in the knowledge that Colorado neighbors and friends have started a restaurant revolution. A revolution that is spreading all over the country. I'm Jeremy Hubbard. Thanks for joining us tonight. We hope you have a happy, safe, and hunger-free 4th of July weekend. Cafe in Golden, and legend has it Elvis had eaten Nick's famous Fool's Gold sandwich, made up of an entire loaf of French white bread, a pound of bacon, butter, peanut butter, and grape jelly. And the king loved it so much that on the night of February 1st, 1976, he flew his private jet, the Lisa Marie, from Memphis back to Denver and picked up 22 of the high-calorie concoctions. He and his entourage ate them in an airport hangar and then flew back to Graceland. You can still get that famous sandwich at Nick's Cafe in Golden. We'll be right back.
Less conversation, a little more action.